The most dangerous people are not those who lie to your face, but those who lie to themselves and call it love. Have you ever felt an inexplicable chill in the midst of warm praise? A subtle disquiet in someone's unwavering support? This is not your imagination. You are not paranoid. You are awakening to the shadows cloaked in light. The universe is revealing to you that the most dangerous people are not those who openly oppose you, but those who masterfully disguise themselves as love while secretly draining your life force. They are the energy vampires of your existence, wearing the mask of care, operating in the name of love, and quietly eroding your spirit. If you have ever felt this, leave a 111 in the comments to let the universe know you've received the message. This marks the beginning of your awakening, a journey to reclaim your sacred power by seeing the truth. Please like and subscribe, because today we unmask them together and learn how to protect your precious inner sanctuary. You must understand, there is a danger that is silent, that never announces itself. It is not like thunder, but a constant, almost inaudible hum that erodes your energy field when you let your guard down. The source of this danger is people who are themselves broken, yet masters of disguise. Carl Jung, that profound explorer of the human psyche, didn't just study the surface of the mind. He delved into the deep, dark corners of the soul, exploring the parts of ourselves we desperately try to hide, what he called the shadow. And Jung's wisdom reveals a startling truth to us. The greatest threat to you is not the person who lies to your face. Their intentions are clear and easy to guard against. No, the true danger comes from those who lie to themselves and then call that self-deception love. They cannot face their own inner emptiness, their own fears, their own unhealed wounds. And so they project these shadows onto the world. And you, unwittingly, may become the stage for their unconscious drama. They weave a web of charm, of seemingly selfless help, and of subtle manipulation. You believe you are basking in the sun of their care, but you are, in fact, being quietly drained of your life force. Jung's profound insight acts as a compass for the soul, pointing us in the right direction. He taught us that to understand human nature, we cannot only look at the polished, socially acceptable persona or mask. We must have the courage to gaze at the shadow beneath it, the repressed, denied, and unintegrated parts of the self. Because what people show you is often not who they truly are, but the version of themselves they think you will accept and love. It is a survival strategy, an unconscious performance for connection and approval. And if you are not yet awake, if you lack this sacred discernment, you will give your time, your energy, your trust, and even your most precious love to a soul container that was never safe to begin with. You will be fooled by the performance, mistaking their false giving for sincerity and their control for care. The price of this misplacement is the exhaustion of your energy, the stunting of your spiritual growth, and the dimming of your inner light. This is precisely why Jung dedicated his life to studying and illuminating these complex psychological patterns. He laid out for us 6 incredibly deceptive psychological masks, 6 personality types that feel harmless at first, but quietly and methodically dismantle your inner world if you are not awake. These people are thieves of energy, invisible roadblocks on the path of spiritual growth. They seem harmless, even charming, but like a frog in slowly boiling water, they will destroy your will and your power when you are least expecting it. Now, let us begin this sacred exploration. We will unmask these 6 types one by one, empowering you with the wisdom to see them. The first, and most common, is the chronic victim. This first dangerous personality is the chronic victim. This is the person who seems to be permanently nailed to a cross of fate, where every unfortunate event in their life is, without exception, someone else's fault. In their world, the concept of personal responsibility does not exist. They are always suffering, always being attacked, always the innocent party who has been wronged. Their narrative is filled with such helplessness and sorrow that, upon first meeting them, they are incredibly easy to pity. You feel sorry for their plight, you feel a strong urge to protect them, you want to help them, to save them, and so you become emotionally invested, taking on their recovery as your own responsibility. You become their savior, which is exactly what they unconsciously desire. You believe you are doing good, giving love, but Jung's wisdom saw this with perfect clarity. People who live in a state of permanent victimhood are often engaged in the deepest forms of emotional manipulation. You see, when a person is always the victim, they never have to be accountable for their own life. They never have to change, they never have to grow, and they certainly never have to confront and integrate their own inner shadow. Their pain becomes their most powerful weapon. They use it to guilt-trip you. They use it to twist reality. They use it to make you feel that you owe them something. They pull sympathy out of you and turn it into an obligation you must fulfill. Slowly, you are no longer just helping them, you are carrying them. You are shouldering a burden that was never yours, and your energy is perpetually drained. And the most tragic part is that they don't truly want healing. To heal would mean to give up the powerful identity of the victim, to take back their projections and face their own issues. What they truly want is control over you through your sympathy and your guilt. Jung warned us that when someone is always a victim, they have likely fused with their shadow, the part of them that thrives on emotional manipulation and is disguised by helplessness. These people will never change, because to change would be to lose the only power they have, your pity. And if you don't distance yourself from them, you will eventually start to feel guilty for not being broken yourself. Your wholeness, to them, becomes an offense. The second dangerous personality is the charming mirror. Jung called this the persona trap. This person is like an enchanted mirror, perfectly reflecting back to you whatever you most desire to see. Whatever you want, they become. If you like humor, they are witty. If you admire depth, they are philosophical. If you need support, they are your biggest cheerleader. They are agreeable, supportive, and the perfect confidant. They will laugh at your jokes, admire your dreams, and validate your insecurities with precision. At first, it feels like you've found your soulmate, someone who truly sees and gets you. The feeling is intoxicating, but slowly, you start to notice something strange. You realize that you don't actually know who they are. You don't know their true thoughts, their weaknesses, their fears, because they are not showing you anything real. Everything they are doing is a performance, a carefully curated act to gain your trust and affection. They are not building a genuine connection with you. They are mirroring you to gain entry. Jung wrote that when a person over-identifies with their persona, they become a mask, and the real self stays hidden, protected, untouched, and unaccountable. The charming mirror is dangerous because they feel so safe. You let your guard down completely, but what's behind the mask? Nothing. No substance, no stability, no consistent values. Only the chameleon-like ability to adapt, to mimic, to impress. They are not loyal to you, they are loyal to your approval. And the moment you stop admiring them, the mirror vanishes, or, worse, turns against you. You didn't meet them, you met your reflection in their performance. And trusting someone like that is like shaking hands with smoke. You can never grasp anything real. The third dangerous personality is the passive-aggressive enabler. This one is incredibly subtle and hard to detect. They don't openly criticize you, and they don't fight you directly. They are the soft knife in your life. When you share your dream, they will nod and smile, and then later say something like, "That's ambitious. I just don't want you to be disappointed." Or, "You're so brave for trying that. I don't think I'd ever risk failing like that." Doesn't that sound supportive? Like they care? But it isn't. Jung described this dynamic as the hidden shadow of the helper. These people don't attack your decisions directly. They slowly erode your confidence through emotional suggestion. They present doubt as concern, fear as logic, and judgment as maturity. If you're not conscious, you will internalize their limitations as your own. Their fears become your fears. Their insecurities become your insecurities. Jung understood that this type is especially dangerous because they pretend to empower you, while quietly making sure you never outgrow them. Because if you succeed without them, they lose their invisible grip, their relevance. For the enabler, that's a silent ego death. So they clip your wings before you ever take flight. and then call it support. This is a profoundly insidious form of manipulation because it preys on your trust. They make you believe they are your staunchest ally when in reality, they are the one quietly loosening the rope as you climb. The fourth dangerous personality is the secret competitor. This person isn't competing with the world, they are competing with you. They are the enemy disguised as a friend. They will appear in your life as a great supporter. They will applaud your success, but only when they are ahead of you. They will act happy for you, but every time something good happens for you, they find a way to make it about them. They will one-up your story with one of their own that is slightly better, slightly more impressive. They will minimize your achievements or redirect the attention back to themselves. Their praise is a strategy, a way to keep you close so they can subtly sabotage you. This person is driven by a deep, unconscious inferiority complex. Jung believed that this type of behavior is rooted in a profound sense of inadequacy. They cannot tolerate your light because it reminds them of their own perceived darkness. And instead of owning that feeling and growing from it, they compete secretly. They resent what you reflect back at them, their own inadequacy. When you fail, they will feel a sick sense of relief, but they won't say it. They'll just say, "I was afraid this might happen," or "I tried to warn you." They frame their jealousy as foresight. This person is not a teammate. They are a mirror competitor, playing the role of support just to stay close enough to sabotage you emotionally. Jung warned, never trust someone who can't clap for you when it's not their turn to win. A true friend celebrates your victory, regardless of their own standing. The fifth dangerous personality is the spiritual narcissist, or the wise one. This is one of the most difficult to spot because it comes cloaked in holiness. This is the person who presents themselves as enlightened, mature, grounded, and emotionally advanced. They speak softly, they quote philosophy, they reference healing, alignment, shadow work, and mindfulness. They present themselves as above conflict, above ego. But in truth, they are deeply attached to being seen as superior. Jung would call this a split psyche, where the conscious mind clings to a spiritual identity, while the unconscious shadow leaks out as quiet superiority, control, and judgment. The danger is, they don't dominate you by arguing. They dominate you by always being the calm one, making you feel emotional, unhealed, or spiritually inferior anytime you push back. They say things like, "That sounds like a trigger you haven't dealt with yet," or "I'm just holding space. It's not my responsibility to fix your projection," or "You're still reacting. You have inner work to do." It sounds wise, but it's really a power play. They use emotional language to invalidate your reality. You can't win an argument because they'll never admit to one. You can't confront them because they'll reframe your anger as a flaw in you. And the more conscious you try to become, the more they shift the frame to stay above you silently, spiritually, untouchable. Jung warned about this especially because the wise one often builds their persona out of unintegrated ego. They didn't kill their ego, they just gave it robes and crystals, buried it under concepts, and called it transcendence. And the more you trust them to guide you, the more power they gain, not by helping you grow, but by keeping you small, confused, and always needing their clarity. They don't want equals, they want students. You'll mistake their emotional stillness for depth, when in fact, it's just performance. The sixth dangerous personality is the empath who always ends up in control. Jung wrote often about projection, how people assign their own needs, wounds, and intentions onto others unconsciously. And the sixth type is a master of this, the empathic controller. They feel everything. They sense energy. They pick up on moods, body language, tension, subtext. They cry easily. They comfort you often. They make you feel deeply seen. At first, this seems like a gift. It feels like connection. But over time, it becomes something else. Control through sensitivity. You start adjusting your behavior so you don't disturb them. You suppress your reactions so you don't hurt them. You hesitate to express frustration because they'll say, "That energy really affects me." And before you realize it, you're not expressing yourself at all. You're managing them. Because they've convinced you their pain is your fault. This is where the empath becomes toxic. They don't want connection. They want emotional safety at your expense. And if you fail to meet it, they break down, and you become the bad guy. Suddenly, you're insensitive, you're cold, you're unstable, you're responsible for their spiral. But it's not your spiral, it's theirs, and they've never learned to hold it, so they place it on you. And if you're not careful, you'll spend months, even years, trying to regulate someone who never took responsibility for themselves. You'll mistake emotional chaos for depth, sensitivity for purity, and control for closeness. And by the time you realize it, your identity will be wrapped around someone else's emotional storm. That's not love. That's psychological submission. And Jung's advice? Walk away. Because this kind of person will never say they're dangerous. They'll say they're just feeling too much. And unless you are deeply rooted in yourself, you will start to believe them. You'll believe their pain is your fault, their chaos is your burden, their breakdowns are your responsibility. But they're not. You didn't break them, you just got too close. The deeper warning. Now that you've heard all 6 types, you might ask, why do these people exist? Why do they move this way? And Jung's answer is brutally clear, because they never met their shadow. So now, they make you carry it. They never faced the part of them that's manipulative, so they project it onto you. They never admitted their need for control, so they control people in the name of love, support, or guidance. They never took responsibility for their pain, so they made it your job to fix it. These people aren't rare. They're everywhere. And they thrive in spaces where people don't know how to defend their energy. Jung believed the only protection was self-awareness, to spot the mask, to see through the kindness, to hear what's not being said, and walk away before you need proof. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, we'll go beyond the list, into how you stop attracting these people, why your shadow makes you tolerate them, and how to permanently become someone they can't manipulate, use, or break. By now, you've seen them, the 6 people Carl Jung said you should never trust, not because they're always evil, but because they're deeply unaware of themselves. And when someone has no awareness of their own shadow, they make you live in it. They become the chronic victim, the charming mirror, the quiet enabler, the hidden competitor, the spiritual narcissist, the empathic controller. They don't always come to destroy you, they come to feed from you. To Jung, this wasn't moral failure, this was a psychic pattern, a survival system of the unconscious, trying to hold itself together by externalizing pain, control, and emotional confusion. And if you don't recognize the pattern, you'll think it's just bad luck. You'll think you keep attracting bad people. You'll think you're being punished. But Jung would say you're not being punished, you're being mirrored. Because here's the real warning most people miss. You attract what you haven't integrated. Let that sink in. If you're always attracting manipulators, there's a part of you that's still afraid to stand in your own truth. If you're always surrounded by victims, there's a part of you that needs to be needed in order to feel valuable. If you're constantly betrayed by charming people, you're still worshipping external approval more than internal clarity. That's why this video isn't just about who to avoid, it's about why you tolerated them in the first place. And Jung believed the answer always lies in one place, your shadow. The shadow attracts the mask. Jung taught that the shadow is everything you've repressed, the parts of you you were told were too much, or too selfish, or too intense, or not lovable. So you buried them. You became nice, you became helpful, you became agreeable, you became emotionally intelligent, you became whatever would get you accepted. But here's the trade-off. You lost your edge, you lost your instincts, you lost your barrier to harm, because when you repress your anger, you tolerate disrespect. When you repress your intuition, you ignore red flags. When you repress your self-protection, you keep letting in the people who pretend to love you and then slowly consume you. Jung didn't want you to become cold. He wanted you to become whole. And to do that, you have to stop pretending that your love is limitless, that your patience is eternal, and that your trust should be freely given, because it shouldn't be. Not everyone deserves access to you, especially not the people who live unconsciously. Because here's the brutal truth. Some people are not learning, they're just repeating. They've been the same for 10 years. They're not doing shadow work. They're not evolving. They're not growing with you. They're just adapting their language to hide their same old patterns. And unless you become the kind of person who values inner alignment over outer harmony, you will keep bending for people who wouldn't stretch an inch for you. What to do now? If this video hit you hard, good. It means something in you is waking up. It means you're done being easy to manipulate. It means the old version of you, the one who needed to be liked, needed to fix, needed to feel good, is finally tired. So here's how you move forward. 1. Audit your circle. Start asking, who drains me? Who confuses me? Who am I constantly explaining myself to? If someone constantly needs context just to treat you right, they're not confused, they're avoiding accountability. Let them go silently, without guilt. Jung believed withdrawal is one of the strongest acts of consciousness, not because you hate them, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself to keep the peace. 2. Let your shadow speak. Stop trying to be perfect. Let yourself say no. Let yourself get angry. Let yourself question people's intentions. Your shadow isn't evil, it's protective. It's the part of you that remembers who you are when you're being emotionally gaslit into forgetting. Let that part rise. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. If you want peace, stop performing for it. Integrate the part of you that can walk away, that can set a boundary, that can say, I'm not available for this anymore. 3. Stop explaining. The people who deserve your energy won't need you to justify your boundaries. They'll feel them, they'll respect them, and they'll match you with their own clarity. But the toxic ones, they'll demand explanations. They'll guilt trip you. They'll paint you as the problem. Let them. Jung didn't believe in convincing unconscious people to see your light. He believed in becoming so grounded in yourself that their confusion no longer slows you down. 4. Trust what you felt the first time. Most people aren't confused. They're just hoping they're wrong. But you weren't. That moment, you felt the energy shift. That moment, you hesitated before trusting. That moment, your gut said, something's off here. That wasn't paranoia. That was your subconscious reading patterns before your mind caught up. Start listening to it. Because the people Jung warned us about don't show up with warning signs. They show up with flattery. They show up with emotional stories. They show up with alignment and vulnerability and healing talk. But time always tells. And when it does, you better be far enough away that it no longer costs you anything. The final word. Carl Jung didn't want you to fear the world. He wanted you to stop fearing your own knowing. The more shadow you integrate, the fewer toxic people get close. Not because you're hiding, but because your energy no longer gives them entry. You stop explaining, you stop fixing, you stop justifying your standards. And without ever raising your voice, you become someone no manipulator can reach, no narcissist can fool, no competitor can rattle. Because you are now the person Jung wanted you to be, awake, whole, and impossible to trick.